Welcome back to the Mike and Andrew Show. I'm Andrew Surwick here. Merry Christmas to you guys. Mike, how was your Christmas, man? We got a lot to get to, but tell me about it real quick, man.
Pretty good, man. Just did the usual, just hung out with family and, got some good stuff. So hopefully everyone else had a very good Christmas this year. I know it wasn't too bad. The weather wasn't too bad either.
Yeah, no, weather was really good for us. It was about in the low 50s, so kind of nice. But yeah, man, just hung out with family, watched a lot of football. So we have a lot to get into, so we're gonna get right into it, man. Starting with Thursday night football, we had the Rams and the Saints facing off in LA. The Rams winning this one 30-22. It was a good game for Stafford. 328 yards, 24 for 34. I mean, he looked really good. Derek Carr actually played a pretty decent game as well. Um, that said, it was, you know, the Rams are up pretty big going into the fourth quarter, and the Saints started to crawl themselves back into this game, but ultimately they fall just short, just 8 points short of LA.
Yeah, LA, man, right now, if they were to play in the playoffs, it would be against Detroit, man. Stafford going to try and take down Detroit in the playoffs. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, everyone keeps talking about, like, oh, well, Stafford's going to come in and then, it's going to be same old Lions, find a way to lose a home playoff game to your former quarterback. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. But that's just me. So Saturday we had two games. We had the Steelers hosting the Bengals for the noon slot. Steelers winning big here, 34-11. Mason Rudolph had a pretty decent game. Jake Browning looked really good for Cincinnati. Outside of the three interceptions that he threw, I feel like you'd take those interceptions away, and Cincinnati is a lot closer in this game. Outside of those interceptions, though, he looked really, really good. But Pittsburgh just ran away with this one, 17 points in the second quarter, and that led to them having a nice win.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, man, got a nice win. I think they're going to roll with Mason Rudolph for the rest of the season here. This seems like the most reliable of the quarterbacks right now, as Pickett's out injured, so I think that's who they're going to be rolling with for the rest of the year and if they make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's exactly who they're going to stick with. The other Saturday game, we had the Chargers hosting the Bills. This was a very close game. Buffalo just winning 24-22. LA kept it close in this one. I wasn't really expecting that at all, but Josh Allen had a pretty decent game. And then Easton Stick, who was in at quarterback for the Chargers, he looked all right at times, but just at times that red zone offense just really started to slow down. Once they really got into plus territory, that offense just couldn't do anything. But Buffalo just somehow able, to get a last-second field goal to win this game.
Yeah, Buffalo wins the big game, and they've come on strong here. I still think Miami's going to win the division. I know Miami clinched as well, but Buffalo's been looking good, man.
Yeah, they've been looking good. My question more about this game is, how do the Chargers go from getting absolutely fucking destroyed by the dog shit Raiders and then just barely lose to Buffalo? Like, I just don't understand it, man. It really is. The Vikings and the Lions, they played in Minneapolis on Sunday. Lions doing something they haven't done in 30 years, and that is clinch the division. It's been a long time coming for Detroit in general, Detroit sports fans, this franchise. It was a lot. It meant a lot. You can see after the game, Taylor Decker was bawling his eyes out because he's been in Detroit his whole career, and he's just so happy to finally do what he's always wanted to do with this team and get them into a position to win a division. And he played a big role in that game. In this game, The defense at times looked a little shaky. The problem is that Mullins threw 4 interceptions and they still were this close. It was a 30-24 win for Detroit. But Mullins threw the last second interception right to Ife Melifonwu. Really great pick, by the way. Late round pick by Brad Holmes there for Detroit. And Detroit gets the victory here. Yeah, man, finally they win their division.
Yeah, man, long time coming. Great game, Also, tough one as well because they definitely could have played better. As always, didn't look as good as they did in the Denver game. But man, can we talk real quick about Justin Jefferson? That dude he's number one, bro.
That man's a fucking alien. That dude is alien.
They both have their own skill sets. Jefferson, man, you throw it up to him. I mean, look at him at that last drive, man. You throw it up to him, he'll catch anything. Tyreek burns people with speed and gets wide open, but man, Jefferson, he's like the new age Kelvin Johnson, man. You throw it up to him, he's gonna bring it down somehow.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. It was that 3rd and 27 after Kaminsky failed to jump on top of that fumble, and I was like, here we go, SOL. We could get this defense off the field right now. Kaminsky doesn't get the fucking fall on that fumble, and then it's 3rd and 27. You're just like. It's 3rd and 27, and it's the same thing. It's like okay, well they could get off the field here, right? It's 3rd and 27, and then we're gonna have to force them to go for it on 4th down. Let's see what we can do. And Jefferson comes up with a huge haul in double coverage. Absolutely incredible game from him. Jahmyr Gibbs also had a really good game for Detroit, rushing for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. And yeah, man, just a really good game from the Lions, offensively especially, defensively. It looked good because, he had 4 interceptions, but at the same time, man, you can't be letting, the Vikings score that many points on you, even with that many interceptions. But moving on from there, we had the Texans hosting the Browns. Obviously, Houston's still without C.J. Stroud. Joe Flacco had a pretty decent game despite throwing 2 picks in this. And Cleveland just dominant pretty much the entire game. It was 22-7 going into halftime, and just a really good game from Cleveland. The defense looked really good. Offensively, they looked pretty decent outside of Flacco's 2 picks. He's thrown a lot of picks, but man, he's still getting a hell of a lot of yards out there in Cleveland.
Yeah, man. Browns, man, just crazy to see them doing so well. And Lions and Browns, first time both were in 10-win seasons in 70 years, they said. So crazy this season that the 2 bottom feeders of NFL franchises are now at the top.
Could you imagine if the Browns and the Lions faced off in the Super Bowl this year? Because both teams have never made it. Lions the only NFC team to have never made it. It would be crazy just to see the Lions and Browns face off in the Super Bowl. Because obviously, like I said, both franchises have never been in the Super Bowl before, let alone won one. So, yeah, crazy for sure. Speaking of crazy, the Jets hosting the Commanders, winning just narrowly 30-28. Washington had a 1-point lead going into late. Well, they had a 1-point lead late into the 3rd quarter because it was all Jets in the first half. Really, it was 27-7, and then Washington just dominated that first half. But 5 seconds left, and the Jets kick a field goal to win this game. Simeon had a pretty okay day. Jacoby Brissett looked like, he didn't look like he belonged out there. Granted, he only threw it 13 times, but man, he did not look comfortable at all. But Washington somehow able to get themselves a nice win here.
Yeah, this was definitely a mid-off here between both of these teams. Just, really bad play here. And, the Jets get that last-second win, but it's not really going to do much for either of these teams, as both are, missing the playoffs.
Yeah, both these teams sucked. This was one of our toilet bowls this week. We'll talk about some other ones here, but anyways, the Titans played host to the Seahawks. The Seahawks winning 20-17. Um, I thought Tennessee could be in this game. It was 10-3 at halftime. And I was very surprised. I thought not Green Bay. I thought Seattle would run it up on Tennessee here, just because Tennessee's defense is so god awful, and that offense can't move. And Green Bay's defense is pretty stout. Why do I keep saying Green Bay? Seattle's defense is pretty stout this year, but it ended up being basically a last minute touchdown for the Seahawks to win this game because it was 17-13, and then a minute left. You have Seattle take the lead, and the score would stay the same. Geno Smith had a really good game in his game back, 25 for 36, 227 yards. This looked really good. And then Derrick Henry led the way for Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean that was a definitely an interesting game there by Seattle to get that last second win, and they have moved into that last playoff spot in the NFC right now.
Yeah, just barely getting themselves in, but they're in nonetheless. The Falcons hosted the Colts, and the Falcons actually got away with a nice win here, 29-10. Taylor Heineke was in for Atlanta. He looked pretty decent, 230 yards passing. Minshew played a pretty decent game. He did throw an interception, but ultimately, man, the Colts offense just could not move against Atlanta's elite level defense. And Bijan actually for once had a somewhat decent game with 122 all-purpose yards. So maybe Atlanta's finally using him just a little bit here.
Yeah, finally. Bijan has a good game in Atlanta. I mean, needed the bounce back after that horrible performance last week against the Panthers.
Yeah, they desperately needed that. Speaking of the Panthers, they hosted the Packers. The Pack getting away here with a 33-30, win here. Last second field goal, tied at 30. And Green Bay kicks it in for the win here. I thought this was going to be a blowout. I really did. I thought Green Bay is just way better than Carolina. Even though Green Bay is a sub 500 team, they're just a way better team, especially compared to how just abysmal this Carolina roster is. But Bryce Young actually played a really, really solid game. 23 for 36, 312 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Maybe he's turning the corner a little bit, but I still think this is a one-off.
Yeah, definitely a one-off, I think. Maybe he'll get a little bit, but I mean, he can't be much worse than he is. If not, he's going to lose his starting position here by next year. So he's got to improve somehow. I mean, he can't get much worse. So he'll have some good games, and I don't want to see him struggle. I hope that he can figure it out. But yeah, the Packers here, man, that was tough for them to keep it that close with Carolina.
Yeah, pretty embarrassing. Speaking of getting embarrassed, though, the Jags, man, they got pretty embarrassed by Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay winning 30-12. Baker Mayfield, man, he was electric in this game, man. A lot of risky passes that he threw, and they were just like right on the money. And his receivers were able to catch him. Like Mike Evans, he had a really nice grab, pretty early on in the game. Trevor Lawrence had an okay day. I mean, 2 interceptions. You never want to see that. But Jacksonville, man, their defense just couldn't do anything. And this offense, just as of late, just not productive at all.
Yeah, man, just really hasn't been.
The Bears hosted the Cardinals in one of our other toilet bowls this week. The Bears winning 27-16. And it was pretty much all Bears in the first half. I mean, just a late touchdown in the second quarter by the Cardinals were their only points there. And from there, it was just a bunch of field goals in this game. But Fields had an okay day, 15 for 27, 170 yards. Kyler Murray played pretty damn good, but yeah, man, when you can't move the ball against Chicago, especially, your offense is just straight trash, man.
Yeah, I mean, another one that was basically going to be a toilet bowl, and neither of these teams really did much of anything.
Yeah, that is for sure. Miami played host to the Cowboys. This was one of the best games this weekend. Miami winning 22-20 on a field goal with no time left. Um, this is proof that Dallas on the road and Dallas at home are two very, very, very different teams. Um, but Miami coming off with a clutch win here. Both Tua and Dak looked really good in this game. Um, Very high completion percentages for both, and a ton of yards for both. The ground game couldn't do much at all in this game for either team. But CeeDee Lamb, man, what a fucking receiver, man. He is awesome.
Shout out CD Lamb for lending me my fantasy football championship. I won my fantasy football league this week, and CD Lamb and Puka Nakua standouts this week. Let's go.
Yeah, very, very good game for CeeDee Lamb. Just Dallas's defense just didn't do enough to hold off Miami at the end here, and they fall to 10-5. Um, so yeah, Sunday night football was a very interesting game to say the least. We had the Broncos face off with the Patriots, and the Patriots pulling off the upset win, 26-23. Um, Last second field goal to win the game from 56 yards, tied at 23. I thought for sure, this would be a blowout by Denver. They're just, they're a good team right now. But since that loss to the Lions, man, I don't know what happened, man. They just fell apart after last week.
Yeah, their playoff chances plummeted as well with that loss. Denver, man, they were looking good there, but now I think they're coming back. And, we'll talk about KC as well. But this was their chance to move up in the division, maybe even try and steal it, or at least for sure lock up a wild card spot. You can't lose to the Patriots, man.
No, they have to win out if they want to have a chance at the or a chance at the playoffs here. It's possible, but I don't know if it's going to happen. Monday, we had 3 games on Christmas Day. Yesterday, I guess I should say. You had the Chiefs and the Raiders face off on the afternoon game, or the noon game, sorry. And you had the Chiefs losing here 20-14. The Raiders put up more points defensively than they did offensively. No surprise there. The defense is actually pretty good in Vegas. It's just their offense is so goddamn awful. But 2 touchdowns in 7 seconds for this Raiders defense. They had the scoop and score, and then immediately followed up by a pick six. And I don't know what Patrick Mahomes was looking at in that on that play for the pick six, but yeah, he made some mistakes, and it took him till late in the fourth quarter really to be able to do anything after that. He did not look good after a really shaky start, fumbling the ball to allow Vegas to score, and then also, throwing the pick right after. He did not look confident at all in himself or really anyone on the team after both those plays. But good win for Las Vegas. They somehow get a win here, but a win's a win in this league.
Yeah, KC, I think their dynasty's starting to fall apart, man. Every game, it seems like Mahomes, Kelsey, someone's just not in sync, man. They look bad this year. I mean, they'll make the playoffs, but they're not going to go back to back. They just got too many problems.
No, they're right now. I believe they're a 4 seed. I believe the Bills have the Bills have the head to head. So Bills have that tiebreaker for being the 3 seed. Because I just don't think either of those two teams really can compete with Miami or Baltimore for that matter. And speaking of Baltimore, we'll get to them shortly, man, because that was a great game. But first, we had the afternoon game. We had the Eagles hosting the Giants in a nice NFC East matchup. And this was a classic, matchup between these two teams. It was all Philly in the first half, and then the Giants just slowly started creeping themselves back up into this game. but just fall 8 points short of victory here, and the Philly gets a win just barely.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Philly, they're winning, but again, they're struggling with having dominant wins. They lost all those games in a row, and then needed a big statement win over the Giants, and they really didn't get it. I mean, Giants were in it until the last play of the game, so definitely tough.
Yeah, I thought the Giants for sure could pull off a nice sneaky upset here, especially the way Philly was playing lately, and just late in that game, Philly didn't look all too great. Um, but the big pick six definitely helped the Giants get at least within touching distance of victory here. Jalen Hurts had a pretty decent game outside of that pick six, and DeAndre Swift had a pretty damn good game as well. So got to give credit to him. But the defense just did not look good. And lastly, last night, Monday Night Football, he had the Niners hosting the Ravens. Niners were coming into this game a 6.5 point favorite, and Brock Purdy laid an egg. 4 interceptions in this game, 18 for 32, 255 yards. McCaffrey had a solid game for San Francisco, but man, just absolute frauds. San Francisco, well, not necessarily San Francisco, but Purdy. Um, but yeah, man, just really really solid game for Baltimore. I had Baltimore winning this game. I know you picked San Francisco, and like I said, man, was saying the last couple of weeks, man, I've been saying Baltimore's might be the best team in football, and they just beat quote unquote the best team in football. So yeah, man, and they beat them pretty goddamn handedly, 33-19.
Yep, they played good, man, and so Purdy basically threw his MVP out the window with last night's performance, and now Lamar is the front runner. So it's crazy how it's very similar to the Heisman, where week to week, I mean, it changes all the time. You got to be at the top by the end of the year if you want to win the MVP, and you can't have like any bad games, man. So um, Lamar's the MVP front runner now, and Baltimore now is the best team in the league.
Yeah, that is for sure. So we're going to head over into the NFL power rankings now. And moving up 5 spots to number 10 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're red hot lately. I don't know if I would put them a top 10 team. Yes, they're on top of their division right now. And Baker has been absolutely insane so far in the last like 2 or 3 weeks. But that said, I don't know if I'd put them a top 10 team right now. They are good. I think they're just outside this top 10 at about maybe 11 or 12. But I can't see an argument right now for them to be a top 10 team.
Yeah, I think it's definitely tough, man. I would agree. I think that they're just a little bit outside, but yeah, at 10, I guess it's all right.
Yeah, moving down 3 spots to number 9, finally where they belong below the Lions is the Kansas City Chiefs. And they queefed this week, that's for sure, man. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, like I said, just didn't look confident until late in the fourth quarter, and lots of mistakes on his end, lots of drops too from the wide receivers, but that's just their trademark at this point. Um, and the defense did enough to win this game. It's just Vegas's defense was able to capitalize huge on those mistakes from Patrick Mahomes, and they're the sole reason why the Raiders won. But I can see Kansas City being down here at 9. I mean, it's a good fit for them right now, especially based on record and just losing to a really bad team in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, uh, KC, they just look out of sorts. Their defense looks better than their offense this year. They're just melting down right now. I mean, they got to be towards the bottom of this top 10 for sure.
Yeah, that is for sure. Um, Moving up 1 spot to number 8 is the Cleveland Browns. Another nice win this week for them. Joe Flacco, 2 interceptions, but man, still looking absolutely insane for the Browns. Cooper, racked in 265 yards. I mean, dude was just catching everything thrown his way. Um, And the defense held up, obviously. Big win here. Um, and yeah, man, I like the spot for Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean they keep winning, so they got to stay in this top 10.
Actually, I think they should be one higher. The team above them here at 7 that also moved up one spot is the Buffalo Bills. I think they should be at 8 in my personal opinion, but it is what it is. I'm not gonna fret too much about both these teams being where they are or having to be switched. As long as they're right next to each other, I think that's okay. But the Bills got a scary win here, but able to get the win. Um, Josh Allen had to be clutch, late in this game, and he was able to be put up to the test, and he took that test and he passed. Man, he looked really good, very late in the game, very clutch times. So yeah, I like the spot for Buffalo. I could see them probably being at 8 below, um, the Browns, but still not a terrible spot that I won't argue too much about.
Yeah, I don't mind this spot for them. Uh, right now, I mean, them and the Browns both look pretty good. The Browns have more wins, but Buffalo on paper has the better team. So um, I feel like they're kind of even in that aspect if you look at it like that. So I'm fine with the replacement here.
Yeah, no, I'm not too mad about it. Dropping down 3 spots to number 6 is the Dallas Cowboys. Um, Honestly, man, I still think they're a top 5 team. I really do. I know this was a tough loss to a really good Miami team on the road, and they just barely lost this game. Um, the defense was playing very good for most of that game up until very late, um, allowing Miami to get into field goal range. But I don't know if I could drop them out of the top 5 yet. I mean, yeah, it's a tough loss, but man, they played a very good game against a very good team on the road. I just don't. I just can't really see having them at 6 here. I still think they should be at least be number 5.
Yeah, I could definitely see them being number 5 here. I'm fine with them at 6, but I'm cool with them being top 5 as well still.
Speaking of top 5, the Detroit Lions improve 2 spots to number 5. Um, clinching a NFC North title, first time in 30 years. Having a home playoff game, which they might finally win for the first time in 32 years. Um, you know, it was shaky at times because 4 interceptions. Minnesota shouldn't have been even close to winning this game, and yet they were just a good throw to Justin Jefferson away from winning this game. Um, but that said, the Lions defense came up very big, especially like I said, Ife Melifonwu for Detroit. He came up big with that pick at the end of the game. Um, but yeah, man, I like this spot. I could see them being a top 5 team, if at the very most, probably number 5 here. But yeah, I like it.
Yeah, pretty solid here. I'd like to see them higher, but for what they've been doing, I think number 5 is definitely respectable. But yeah, just glad they were able to finally clinch the division.
Yeah, moving up 1 spot to number 4 is the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, you know, it was a good win over a division rival who's not a very good team, but as of late has actually played pretty decent. Um, but they get a win here, very nice win. Um, there's still some questions, especially on the defense right now, about this team. But I like them still. The offense is still very productive. I just, like I said, I question the defense at times now. Allowing New York to creep into this game, but they found a way to hold off New York at the end, and they get themselves a nice win.
Yeah, bounced back this week, even though it was a little bit tough on them. Wish they would have had more of a blowout game, but still got the W.
Yep, moving up 1 spot again is the Miami Dolphins. They're at number 3. This is a huge win over a really good Dallas team. Now, granted, Dallas on the road averages over 10 points less a game instead of Dallas at home, but it was a very close matchup the entire way through. Um, both defenses actually stood up. I thought this was going to be a shootout just because we know how good these offenses are, and Dallas's defense we know is pretty good. Miami's team is not known for good defense, but they get a nice win here, 22-20. I like this spot for them at number 3.
Yeah, I mean, we already know who number 1 and number 2 are. I think there's going to be flip-flop this week, so yeah.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. San Francisco went down to number 2, and Baltimore went up to number 1. Obviously, Baltimore, record-wise, best team in football. They just knocked off the best team in football, and this opened up the NFC 1 seed race a ton with this loss for San Francisco. Because we have a 3-way tie now for the NFC. Number 1 seed for the playoffs. But I still think right now I believe Lions are a 3 seed still, just because of all the tiebreakers and everything. But you know, you could probably argue Miami to be over San Francisco right now, because San Francisco looked like frauds in this game, especially Brock Purdy. But the defense just didn't hold up like they were basically every single week leading up to this game since the trade deadline. They just could not contain Lamar at all. He used his feet a ton, and yeah. And then at number 1, obviously, quite the opposite of what I just said about San Francisco. They looked amazing. They were able to shut down Brock Purdy, get 4 picks off of him, and get a huge, huge win on the road. So I like these 2 spots. You could probably argue Miami at number 2, but I'm not going to fret about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I could see San Francisco being dropped more than they were. I mean, if they would have kept it close and they lost, say, like last second, or it was a really close game, then I could see them still being strongly at number 2. But they got pretty much manhandled, man. I mean, Baltimore's defense picked them apart, and Lamar had a good game as well. So they just got dominated by Baltimore.
Yeah, that is for sure. So that does it for your NFL power rankings. Real quick, before we get into college football, we got to talk about the Pistons, man. But before we get into college football, I'm going off script here, but man, they just broke the NBA record for consecutive losses.
Single season, so
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna go 2-80. I still highly doubt it. At some point, they're gonna beat someone. I don't know how, but they're gonna beat someone, I think. But man, this is just embarrassing. Thank God there's 3 other franchises in Detroit right now that are actually good, especially the team that they share the building with in the Red Wings. But man, this is just absolutely embarrassing. Ownership has to speak up now, right? And so does Troy Weaver.
Yeah, I mean, Cade put up 41 tonight, and they still lost. I mean, free Cade right now, man. I feel so bad for Cade, bro. Like, what are we doing, man? We are wasting his time here in Detroit. Yeah, so this is the single season record for a single season, but the record spanning 2 seasons, so overlapping, it was 28 by the 76ers back when they went 10-72. They overlapped the 2014-15 season into the 2015-16. They lost 28 straight. So Pistons, they lose their next 2 games to Boston and Toronto to end December. They will be winless in November and December, and they will have officially broken the record across like multiple seasons as well.
Yeah, just absolutely embarrassing. And still radio silence from Troy Weaver and from from ownership. I mean, it's like ownership doesn't care. Troy Weaver clearly doesn't care. I almost wonder if he's just like a dead body rotting away in his office right now, because
What's Tom Gore is doing?
right, that's what's Tom Gore is doing, because he's probably dead, or he's off in one of his billions of homes that he owns, just not caring about this team. I mean, ownership not coming to say anything, Troy Weaver being silent. Just what are we doing here, man? Like, do you not know how to run a fucking franchise? At this point, the NBA needs to step in and make Troy Weaver and Gores make an appearance at least, man, because we need answers, man.
Bro, for real, we need something like you aren't even going to address the fans. Like we're just gonna keep change, sell the team until you do something about it. Like until this gets fixed or something, man. Because like, do you want us to live in poverty like this? Like, man, it literally took the sacrifice of the Pistons for the Lions to be good.
Yeah, it really, really did, man. It's just terrible all the way around. Um, but yeah, man. The Pistons, man, we're gonna keep an eye on the situation over the next few
Yeah,
weeks. See if
I'm
ownership
just
says anything. I mean,
yeah,
this is
and
getting ridiculous, man.
I also want to see who's going to be the team that loses to them because, like, I know we joke they're going to lose 79 in a row and they're going to go 2-80, but I mean they got to win one game, right? Like they've been joking. It's like road to win three, the Pistons or the Panthers. Like at this point, it might be the Panthers, man.
I'd be willing to put money on it that the Panthers have more wins at the end of the season than the Pistons do, man. Because it's just getting so much worse, man.
Bro, we thought like the Sharks were bad or like the
Right,
Panthers were bad.
the Sharks
Like,
started off like 0-12 or
and
0-13, and
that's
then
nothing to
right,
compare
and
to
that's nothing compared.
27 in a row, bro. Like more than doubled it.
Yeah, that's it's just insane, man. But yeah, um, unfortunate for the Pistons. I'm waiting to see if ownership or Troy Weaver decide to actually you know be a part of this franchise and make a statement or something, man. Or if they don't, the NBA needs to step in, do something, force the Gores to sell the team, just something, man, because this is just straight up embarrassing.
Embarrassment, man. You're embarrassing Detroit right now.
Right. Thank God the Lions and the Red Wings are good right now because
For real.
if they weren't, oh boy. So, anyways, we're gonna move over to college football now. We had a lot of bowl games this weekend, especially on Saturday. But we'll get into it Thursday when we were recording. We had Syracuse and South Florida facing off, and South Florida gets a shutout win, 45-0 in this game. Um, Syracuse was playing a tight end at quarterback in this game. He went 6 for 13 and 84 yards. I mean, Syracuse was just trying to run the ball, but South Florida had a lot of starters in this game, and they get a nice win here, 45-0. Friday we had UCF and Georgia Tech face off in the Gasparilla Bowl. Georgia Tech winning 30-17. Mike, just stop me when there's a game that you want to talk about. I know it's a lot of teams that we don't really care about, but
Man,
um,
yeah, I don't even know if there's gonna be a game, man.
South Alabama on Saturday played with Eastern Michigan, winning 59-10 in the 68 Ventures Bowl. Eastern
Daddy of
Michigan looked
noses.
absolutely disgustingly bad. Um, they had uh, they had Cameron McCoy in at quarterback, and he did not look good at all. But yeah, man, that was just embarrassing for Eastern Michigan. At least keep it somewhat close. Duke and Troy played each other in the 76 Birmingham Bowl. Duke winning 17-10. Not a lot to talk about in this game, but yeah. Northern Illinois beat Arkansas State in the Camellia Bowl 21-19, and this was an interesting game because uh, you know NIU was dominant for the first half, really. And then they just didn't score anything else the rest of the game. But oh shit. But anyways, Arkansas State just able to get themselves close, but they scored their last touchdown with a minute 14 left. Tried to onside kick it, and that failed, obviously. And Northern Illinois just barely holds on. Um, Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. You had Air Force playing with James Madison. Air Force showing out for their sponsors, man. 31-21 over James Madison. Um, they played a really solid game. I know they had quite a few starters in this game. I don't think James Madison did. Um, but the Air Force getting a nice win in front of their what is basically their sponsor for them because Air Force and Lockheed Martin. Anyways, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Saw Utah State and Georgia State face off, and normally I'm hype about this game, but I saw so many guys staying out because the Potato Bowl always seems to have something crazy happen in it. but nothing crazy happened here. Georgia State wins 45-22. Um, the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl. Northwestern pulls off an upset win over Utah, 14-7. Um, both teams missing a ton of starters, but there's a lot of there's a lot more starters playing for Utah than there was Northwestern, surprisingly. And Northwestern gets a nice win here. And then a game that it seems like to me it's a crime to never have it on Christmas Eve. I don't care if the NFL's on, you got to play it on Christmas Eve. It's the Hawaii Bowl. You got San Jose State and Coastal Carolina facing off, and Coastal Carolina wins it 24-14. Yeah, just crazy. And then today we had a few games. The Quick Lane Bowl in Detroit. We saw Minnesota facing off with Bowling Green. Minnesota just barely winning, 30-24. Bowling Green was looking to make a comeback late in the fourth quarter, but they just fall short here. I honestly thought Bowling Green could win this game because just Minnesota did not look like they wanted to play in this game at all. Yeah, Minnesota just barely holding on. And then in the first responder bowl, we had Rice and Texas State playing. Texas State gets a win, 45-21 over Rice. Both teams had quite a few starters playing in this game. I know there's quite a few opt-outs as well on both sides, but Texas State getting a nice win here, 45-21. So that's gonna do it for your bowl games right now. Kansas and UNLV are playing right now in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. We'll review that on Thursday's episode. So now let's get into some games that will lead us up to Thursday. I believe there's only 8 games that we have to talk about real quick. The Military Bowl. We'll have tomorrow. We have Tulane facing off with Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's favored by 10.5 somehow. I get it, it's Power 5 versus Group of 5, but Virginia Tech's ass, man. I'm gonna roll with Tulane here.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with Tulane as well. Not much to say.
We got West Virginia and North Carolina facing off in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. West Virginia is actually a 6.5 point favorite here. They're not. There's a lot of starters playing for West Virginia. North Carolina, it's a barren desert. I'm going to take West Virginia and the points in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna take West Virginia. This bowl game, man, just the Duke's Mayo, bro, where the fucking coach gets mayo poured on him, man. Fucking disgusting.
Look, I love Mayo, man, but yeah, that's just it's just doing too much. Also tomorrow we have USC and Louisville facing off in the DirecTV Holiday Bowl. Louisville's favored by 7 points. A lot of opt-outs on both sides of this game. It's really hard to pick here, but I think I'm going to have to roll with Louisville.
Yeah, same. I mean, they're still a 7 point favorite after all the opt-outs. They're probably going to win.
Yeah, number 20, Oklahoma State will play with Texas A&M in the Texas Bowl. Oklahoma State, a 2.5 point favorite here. I hate Texas A&M. I think they might have an edge here, but I got to roll with Oklahoma State because fuck the Aggies.
Yeah, man. Let's go Oklahoma State here as well.
And then Thursday we got 4 more games. We actually have some pretty decent matchups if they weren't full of opt-outs. But we have Boston College and SMU facing off in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. Home game for Boston College, obviously, played in Fenway Park. SMU is favored by 10 points here. A lot of starters not playing in this game, but I still think I'm going to go with SMU. But I think Boston College will cover.
Yeah, I think Boston College is going to cover as well. Again, I really don't have too many strong opinions on these like average to below average bowl games.
Yeah, I don't either. Miami and Rutgers will play in the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl. Rutgers is actually a 1.5 point favorite. I'm actually going to roll with them too. Miami has a lot more starters sitting out in this game. And Mario Cristobal will always find a way to lose a bowl game, so gotta roll with Rutgers here.
Nah, I can't roll with Rutgers, but yeah, you're right about Mario Cristobal. I mean, we're never gonna forget that play this year, man. Just need the ball, bro. Just need the ball.
Yeah, he'll find a way to lose this game. Pop Tarts Bowl winner gets a big ass box of Pop Tarts. You have number 25 Kansas State and number 18 NC State playing in this game. Kansas State a 2.5 point favorite. I know, like usual, lots of starters sitting out in this game. I think Kansas State still has a better edge. They're a lot more physical of a team than NC State is. NC State's more of if this makes sense, a pretty team instead of a tough team like Kansas State. So I think Kansas State will win this game, and they cover that 2.5.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think this game will be tough though. I could really see both of these teams winning, but I'm gonna go with NC State.
All right, that's fair. I feel like
It's
whoever's
tough though, man.
I feel like whoever's offensive and defensive lines play the most or play the best because they want Pop Tarts.
For real, who
Will end
wins?
up winning this game. It's gonna be the fat men are gonna be the reason why this game, or why the team who wins this game wins the game. Let's be realistic here. These fat motherfuckers want some goddamn Pop Tarts, and I don't blame them. And then lastly, the night game on Thursday, we have number 12 Oklahoma and number 14 Arizona playing in the Valero Alamo Bowl. Arizona's favored by 3 points in this game, mostly due to the fact that Oklahoma has pretty much no starters playing in this game. Arizona has a couple. I'm gonna have to roll with Arizona here, and I think they cover that 3 as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll Arizona here. I like their team, man.
Yeah, it should be a pretty decent game, this one. So that's going to do it. We'll talk, obviously, a lot more come this weekend, or come Thursday's episode. But yeah, that I think is going to do it for us today. A little bit shorter episode. Obviously, it's the day after Christmas, so there was a lot to unpack, but we got through it pretty quickly here, so I'll take that. But anyways, Mike, you got anything else you want to talk about before we get going here?
No, just stay tuned for next episode for the week here as we continue to go through. NFL's coming to a close. We'll probably talk about how the Pistons lost again and yeah, go over these bowl games.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to keep an eye on the Pistons. If Troy Weaver or Tom Gores says anything, we'll talk about it. Break down what they say. But I think they're both dead right now, man. I really do. They're a corpse lying around somewhere. Cause yeah, man, just embarrassing that no one has spoken. But
Yeah,
anyways, guys, that's gonna do it from us. Rate, review, subscribe, help us out. You know what the deal is with that. I've said it plenty of times before. Let us know what you want to hear, and we will see you guys on Thursday.